In the beginning, the universe was only darkness. Chaos reigned supreme, an abyss without form called none, where everything was confusing, immutable, and void. But from the primordial waters, something unexpected emerged. A gentle glow began to rise, cutting through the darkness like a luminous sword. It was the birth of Ra, the primordial god of the sun, the first conscious being, carrying within himself the absolute power of creation and light. Ra was not merely a divine entity. He was the force that shaped the world. With a single word, he brought balance to the universe between the heavens and the earth. He raised the firmament, separated the waters, and created the first gods, Shu, the air, and Tefnut, the moisture. From their union, Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, were born, forming the foundation of the cosmos. Finally, Ra shaped humans from his own tears, granting them life and the ability to thrive. But the light Ra carried came at a price. Darkness did not vanish completely. In the depths of the cosmos, the chaotic force of Apep, the serpent of chaos, still stirred, enraged by the creation of light. It waited patiently in the shadows, ready to destroy the balance Ra had created. And so, the god of the sun began his eternal journey through the universe, traveling in his solar bark to maintain balance and protect the world. Ra was more than just a creator. He was a tireless guardian, responsible for maintaining order in the cosmos and shielding the world from the horrors lurking in the shadows. Each morning, he rose to the sky in his solar bark, called Manjet, or the boat of millions of years, which shone like a golden jewel, crossing the horizon and bathing the world in light and life. This light awakened the plants, warmed the waters, and allowed all living beings to flourish. However, the day was only half of his journey. When the sun began to fade at sunset and the sky turned shades of orange and red, it was a warning that Ra was descending to undertake his most dangerous passage, the crossing through the Duat, the underworld. There, he boarded another boat, called Mesektet, darker and reinforced, built to withstand the horrors of the night. In the Duat, Ra was greeted by an environment entirely opposite to the world he illuminated. It was a realm of dense darkness, where time seemed not to exist. The air was heavy, the waters deep and frigid, and the light was constantly consumed by the surrounding void. Restless spirits and monsters inhabited this land, many cursed by the very disorder Ra struggled to contain. But the greatest threat in the underworld was Apep, the gigantic serpent of chaos. Apep was not just a creature. It was the personification of eternal chaos, a primordial and destructive force that had existed since before the birth of the universe. Its immense body could coil around the solar bark like a living prison. Its eyes gleamed with a malevolent red light, and its hissing tongue spread curses that weakened those who dared to face it. Apep had one singular goal: to destroy Ra, extinguish his light, and plunge the cosmos into unending darkness. On the solar bark, Ra did not face the serpent alone. He was accompanied by a crew of loyal gods and divine warriors who had sworn to protect him at all costs. Among them was Seth, the god of strength and controlled chaos, who used his aggression to combat Apep directly. Seth was the first to confront the serpent, striking it with his storm spear whenever it rose from the dark waters. Beside Seth stood Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. She wore a feather on her head, a symbol of balance, and it was she who guided the solar bark through the treacherous waters of the underworld. Without Ma'at, the bark could easily drift into the most dangerous areas of the Duat, where even a god could be lost forever. Her presence was essential, representing the harmony that kept chaos at bay. During the journey, Ra faced constant attacks from Apophis. The serpent would rise from the depths, attempting to devour the entire boat or create storms of darkness to engulf Ra's light. On one such night, Apophis managed to wrap its entire body around the boat, completely extinguishing Ra's light. The world on the surface plunged into absolute darkness, and it seemed the serpent had won. But from within the boat, Ra concentrated all his divine energy and emitted a flash so powerful that it tore through Apophis' body, forcing the serpent to retreat into the depths. Despite these victories, Ra could never rest. Each journey through the underworld was a fight for survival, and every sunrise represented a fleeting triumph over chaos. But for the sun god, the weight of his mission went far beyond defeating Apophis. He knew his daily cycle was vital to the existence of everything he had created. Without him, there would be no life, no order, only a return to the primordial void of none. Thus, with each sunrise, when Ra emerged triumphant on the horizon, the world was reborn with him. The sound of birds, the warmth of the sun touching the waters, the awakening of people, all of it was a direct result of his victory in the underworld. But the cycle never ended. Ra knew that at the end of each day, he would have to face Apophis once more. This eternal battle between light and darkness was what kept the universe in balance. Even so, there was something profoundly lonely in Ra's journey. He sailed ceaselessly, without rest, without a moment of relief. He was the force sustaining the cosmos, yet he bore the burden of knowing his battle would never end. Ra was the beacon illuminating the universe, but his light came at the cost of a daily sacrifice, a sacrifice he was willing to make to protect everything he had created. Ra's journey aboard the solar bark is not just a metaphor for the cycle of day and night, but also a lesson in the importance of perseverance, order, and the fight against adversity. Even in the deepest darkness, light always finds a way to shine. For countless ages, Ra ruled the cosmos with wisdom and strength, revered by gods and mortals as the greatest of all. His power was absolute, his light unwavering. But as time passed, Ra began to feel the weight of eternity. With each sunrise, his light seemed a little dimmer, as if the chaos he battled every night was slowly consuming his essence. He was no longer the vigorous god who had shaped the universe with his divine hands. Each battle with Apophis seemed to demand more of his strength. Immortality, instead of a blessing, began to feel like an impossible burden. Yet it was not just physical weariness that tormented Ra. It was something deeper, the growing disdain of humanity. Mortals, whom he had created with his tears and protected since the dawn of time, began to forget his divinity. They started to turn away from his light, believing they could control the world on their own, without the order Ra had established. They did not understand that chaos always lurked and that light was the only thing keeping them safe. Some even dared to challenge the gods, disobeying sacred laws and causing disorder in the mortal realm. This betrayal hurt Ra more deeply than any attack from Apophis. Human rebellion soon turned into uncontrollable chaos. They began to turn on each other, destroying the harmony Ra had worked so hard to create. Seeing the world plunge into disorder, Ra felt an anger he could not ignore. He summoned his daughter, Sekhmet, the lioness goddess known for her devastating strength and thirst for blood. "Show humanity what it means to defy the light," Ra commanded. Sekhmet descended to earth like a living storm, a force of destruction that laid waste to everything in her path. Villages were destroyed, rivers ran red with the blood of the guilty and innocent alike, and humans, terrified, began to cry out for forgiveness. But Sekhmet knew no limits. Drunk on her thirst for vengeance, she continued to ravage the world, ignoring even Ra's orders to stop. The sun god, realizing the mistake he had made, found himself faced with a terrible dilemma. Allow Sekhmet to continue and destroy all of humanity, or intervene and spare those who had betrayed him. Though wounded by humanity's disobedience, Ra could not simply extinguish the creation he had shaped with such love. He decided to deceive Sekhmet to save humanity. He ordered the other gods to pour a massive quantity of beer tinted red into a field, making it look like blood. Sekhmet, thinking it was real blood, drank until she fell into a deep sleep. Though humanity was saved, something within Ra had changed forever. He realized that humans were no longer the grateful and devoted beings he had created. They had become self-sufficient, blind to the importance of the divine light he brought each day. This betrayal left Ra even more exhausted. The disappointment weighed on him as heavily as his battles with Apophis. For the first time, the sun god felt the desire to withdraw, to abandon the world he had loved so much but now seemed to reject him. As Ra watched human behavior from his divine position, he also realized that his authority among the other gods was beginning to be questioned. He, the supreme god, now seemed like an aging leader, incapable of containing mortal rebellion. His light, which had once been a manifestation of his strength and power, was now seen as a reflection of his fragility. Even the gods began to murmur that perhaps it was time for Ra to step down. He, who had carried the weight of creation alone for so long, began to consider the idea. Finally, Ra made his decision. He knew his time in the mortal world had come to an end. The sun would still shine, and the cycle of day and night would continue, but he would retreat to the heavens, where his presence would be more distant but still essential. It was an act of resignation but also of protection, for he knew that even though humanity had betrayed him, they still needed his light to survive. Ra would not abandon them completely, but he would no longer live among them. And so, he began to prepare for his ascension, marking the dawn of a new era. His resignation from the mortal world is a mixture of sorrow and redemption, as it shows that, even in the face of ingratitude, Ra remains committed to his mission. He is the embodiment of sacrifice and resilience, even when everything seems lost. Ra, worn down by the endless battles against chaos and the betrayal of those he had created and protected, knew that his time in the mortal world was coming to an end. His light, once imposing and vibrant, now seemed weary, like the pale glow of the sun on a cloudy day. Disappointment had settled in his divine heart. Even so, he knew he could not simply abandon the universe to its fate. It was his responsibility to maintain balance and ensure that light continued to bathe the world, even if he was no longer present on the earthly plane. The decision to leave was not an easy one. Ra convened one last meeting with the other gods, gathering in a sacred place where the firmament and earth nearly touched. Standing there, his figure radiating a twilight glow, he announced that he would retreat to the heavens, where he would shine eternally as the sun, a constant and vital presence, but distant. He explained that his decision was not an abandonment but a transformation. Chaos cannot be destroyed, he declared, but the light I leave in the heavens will serve as an eternal reminder that order can prevail, as long as there is faith, courage, and balance. The gods listened in silence, understanding the sacrifice Ra was about to make. Before departing, Ra distributed his responsibilities among the gods who would remain. He appointed Osiris as the ruler of the underworld, ensuring that the cycle of death and rebirth remained intact. Horus, his grandson, was chosen to protect the earth and lead humanity as the symbol of divine kingship. Thoth, the god of wisdom, was tasked with recording the cycles of time and celestial movements, eternalizing the order established by Ra. With each new assignment, the burden on Ra grew lighter, though not without a touch of melancholy. He was saying farewell to everything he had created. At the moment of his ascension, the cosmos seemed to hold its breath. The firmament opened like a golden portal, while the other gods gathered to witness the most solemn moment in divine history. Ra ascended into the solar bark, which now became an eternal symbol of his presence in the heavens. As the bark floated upward, his light grew, becoming increasingly radiant and golden. Humans looking up at the sky for the last time saw the sun transform, as if Ra himself was merging with it. In that moment, he was no longer just the sun god. He became the sun itself, an eternal guardian who would shine for all living beings. But his ascension was not merely a celebration. It was also an act of sacrifice and solitude. By retreating to the heavens, Ra relinquished his direct role in creation. He would no longer walk among humans, no longer share the world with the other gods. He would be a distant observer, watching from above the lives he had shaped, unable to intervene directly. It was the price he paid to ensure that the light would never be extinguished. Even so, his presence in the heavens was a constant reminder that, even in absence, his strength and wisdom still guided the universe. Ra's ascension to the sky marked the beginning of a new era. From his elevated position, he became the constant cycle of death and rebirth, symbolized by dawn and dusk. To mortals, Ra became a legend, a divine force that could not be seen up close but was always present, bringing light and warmth every day. And so, Ra, the creator and protector, withdrew to the heavens, leaving behind a legacy that would never be forgotten. As long as the sun continued to rise, Ra's memory would live on in every ray of light. It is the pinnacle of his story, a moment of transformation in which he transitions from a ruling god to an eternal symbol. He does not abandon the world but transcends his mortal form to ensure that his light and order endure. His departure is both triumphant and melancholic, showing that even gods must make sacrifices to protect what they love. The night fell darker than ever, a prelude to the inevitable confrontation. As Ra's solar bark, the Mesek descended into the Duat for its nightly journey, the universe seemed suspended in an eerie silence. Apophis, the colossal and eternal serpent, awaited in the depths of chaos with a fury that had been building for millennia. This would not be just another battle. Apophis had gathered all its destructive power for one single goal: to consume Ra's light and plunge the cosmos into eternal darkness. On the bark, even the warrior gods accompanying Ra could feel the weight of the imminent danger. All knew that this night would decide the fate of everything that existed. When the bark entered Apophis's dark territory, the environment began to change. The waters of the Duat stirred, forming whirlpools that seemed intent on swallowing the vessel. An immense shadow emerged from the abyss, and the sinuous form of Apophis began to appear. Her skin was as dark as the night, covered in gleaming scales that reflected a sinister light. Her eyes, red as embers, seemed to pierce through the solar bark, locking directly onto Ra. She did not attack immediately. Instead, she began to whisper curses that echoed through the underworld, attempting to weaken the resolve of the crew. These whispers were more than mere words. They were vibrations of pure chaos, capable of disorienting even the strongest gods. Apophis then advanced with unimaginable speed, encircling the solar bark with her infinite body. The waters of the underworld boiled, and the glow of the bark began to falter. From within the vessel, Ra remained silent, focusing on his inner light while his allies fought fiercely. Seth, the god of strength and war, faced the serpent head-on, wielding his gleaming spear. He struck Apophis violently, but it was as if every wound inflicted on the serpent was immediately healed by chaos itself. The other gods on the bark, Thoth, Ma'at, and the celestial guardians, united their forces to keep the vessel steady, but Apophis's energy seemed to be everywhere at once, threatening to break the barrier protecting Ra. As the bark began to lose speed, Apophis launched her final attack. She opened her massive jaws, revealing an endless void ready to consume Ra and all his light. In that moment, the universe seemed on the brink of collapse. Ra's light, which had shone so brightly, began to fade. It was as if chaos was finally winning. But in his moment of greatest weakness, Ra remembered his divine essence. He was not merely the god of the sun. He was the source of life, the primordial force that had shaped the universe. Gathering every particle of energy still within him, Ra rose, shining brighter than ever before. The solar bark was engulfed in an explosion of light so powerful that it pierced through the darkness and struck Apophis directly. The serpent, taken aback by Ra's renewed strength, let out a deafening scream. Her massive form began to writhe and disintegrate, as if the light were burning her body made of pure chaos. She was driven back into the depths of the Duat, defeated once again. However, Apophis could not be destroyed permanently. Chaos was eternal, and she would return the following night, as she always did. But in that battle, Ra had triumphed, proving that as long as there was light, chaos could never fully dominate the universe. When the solar bark emerged on the horizon at dawn, bathing the world in golden light, the universe was reminded that order still prevailed. It was a new day, a new rebirth, and a new reminder of Ra's daily sacrifice to maintain balance. This battle between Ra and Apophis is not just physical but symbolic. It represents the eternal struggle between order and chaos, light and darkness, a conflict that occurs not only in the cosmos but within each of us. Even when darkness seems insurmountable, light finds a way to be reborn. Ra teaches us that resilience and courage are essential to face the darkest challenges, for true victory lies in continuing to fight, even knowing that chaos can never be completely eradicated. Ra's story is not just an ancient myth. It is a reflection of the struggles we all face. Like Ra, we confront our own apophis, fears, challenges, and moments of chaos. But, just like the sun god, we are capable of resisting, being reborn, and bringing light back into our lives. Ra is more than a god of Egyptian mythology. He is a symbol of hope, renewal, and the constant battle against adversity. And as long as the sun continues to rise each morning, his story will never be forgotten. Because, in the end, light always prevails.